This is the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where it's all about getting the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. Brought to you by Itamar Shafir, founder and CEO of Umbrella, the technology platform and brand that is powering thousands of marketing agencies around the country. Find him at umbrellaus.com. And now, here's your host, Itamar Shafir.
Welcome to the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where we talk with successful marketing experts about ways to build and grow your digital marketing agency. Our guest today built a 45 million division for Fabrical. He created Clicks franchise, which was rated top 15 hot franchises by Entrepreneur Magazine. He worked with Tony Robbins, which hit homes. He created businesses breakthrough for them. He is a master at helping business owners better monetize their businesses, and he does it time and time again. I'm super excited to say hello to Mr. David Asarnow. Hi, David.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Wow, I'm so excited. I have a ton of questions for you, David. I bet when all the listeners hear, okay, I want to monetize my business, I want to listen to this guy, right? But before we jump into that, maybe you can give our listeners a little bit of background about how you got into helping people monetize their business.
Yeah, it's a great question. When I look back on my career, I got involved in sales right out of college. And by the way, if you own a business, if you're not in sales, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And so what I realized is one of the most important things is sales. I graduated with a degree in advertising, always loved advertising, did advertising things in my grandfather's business when I was growing up. So always helped with that. And, when you look at it, I built a $45 million business for a company that was 50 years old, 68 million in sales. And I read a book called Built to Last by Jim Collins. And he talked about big, hairy, audacious goals. And one of the things he said is, big, hairy, audacious goal is a goal that's so big that everyone else thinks that you're crazy, that people are going to laugh at you. So when I did this, I created a big, hairy, audacious goal for my division. I said within 5 years, I was going to have the largest division in the company. Granted, we're starting from zero, and the company was already 68 million, and it was 50 years old. So they weren't used to fast growth. I said we were going to be the most profitable and the fastest growing. So I got laughed at. I got said, what the heck did you just say? What did you commit to? Well, within 2 years, we were over 22 million. Within 5 years, we were over 45 million. And, it was that time that I left. I started the next company as a president and CEO. I was hired gun president and CEO to build a company, rebrand it, launch it as a franchise. And we made it to the franchise 500 within 2.5 years from start. Of the fastest growing 500 companies. And then we were an 8-figure business. And as you said, ranked top 15 out franchise. I went in a different direction. I realized I wasn't an entrepreneur. And I took the leap and, almost lost everything. But in the process, I found myself, I found my calling. And I got a blessed opportunity to work with Chet Holmes and Tony Robbins and Business Breakthroughs International. And by the way, I see a book over your head. That red book, Ultimate Sales Machine, was the book that drove all the people to the speaking events, to the webinars, to the trainings. And I got a great opportunity over 3 years to train thousands upon thousands of entrepreneurs. And I realized that that's what I needed to do. And so our business building agency, Business Nitrogen, was founded.
That's amazing. It's a great story. And I'm jumping in and I'm going to ask you, I think probably what 99% of business owners are asking you, David, I'm stuck. I need more sales. Probably, right? That's the first sentence, or how does it work? David, I'm stuck. I can't grow. How does the conversation start?
Most of the people come to us because they're like, I'm stuck, I want to grow. I've tried this marketing funnel thing and it hasn't been working for me. Or I've hired XYZ number of companies to run traffic for us and it's not working. And I take a step back and we ask a question, and we built something called the infinite business model. And I always ask clients this: if this was the last business that you were ever going to build. And it needed to last for generations. It needed to serve your children, your children's children, and your children's children's children.
Hmm.
And so you need to build it as a legacy. Would you be doing the exact same thing you are right now? And they all freeze.
Excellent
They're
question.
like, they're like, no, I've never had anyone say yes. And I say, so what would you change? And some people say everything. Some people say I would build a different type of business. And, so the reason is if this was the last job you were ever going to have, what would you do differently? So I really get into more of the psychology of their dreams, their goals, their desires, and who are you going to serve? Because from the time I was a little kid, I used to always help people out, and people in my family in particular, and then other people would say, why do you always do all this stuff? Why are you helping people? Why are you always doing these things? You're not getting anything for it. And my answer was always, I'm planting seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And so from the time I was a kid, must have read it in a book before I was even a teenager. And I was always an avid learner, not necessarily book learner in school, but I've always gone through seminars, courses, read books, had cassette programs when I was a kid, and always listening and learning. And so I was planting seeds. And my whole viewpoint is that if you add value, if you plant seeds, a forest will grow. And people will say, well, how do you know it's going to come? I say, well, if it serves me in this lifetime or the next, it doesn't matter. I'm planting seeds and add value. So that's my philosophy, and that's how I start the conversation. It's really not necessarily about sales, because we shift it no matter what they come. I want them to start thinking about the vision of their business, their core values, why they do what they do, and how do they serve the people that they serve. And through that, we can have a very different conversation.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I was just repeating something that a lot of people are saying to me, and I agree that many times they think the issue is one thing, and your question to them is amazing, because it kind of opens your mind into rethinking the entire thing altogether. But I guess some of the listeners would say now, okay, I get that 100%. But let's say, that's what I like to do. I love my agency. I want to keep it. I wouldn't build another business. Right. I love doing marketing. I love helping other people. That's what I want to grow. But I'm kind of stuck on sales. I don't feel I have the budget. Many people have an issue with budget. They don't have the budget now to hire X amount of salespeople, X amount of advertising budget that they think that they need, X amount of experts that they think that they need. They're kind of stuck. Maybe they have a limited budget. They have a limited resources, because small agencies or small business in general just don't have a lot of personnel to help anybody. What's your your go-to 1, 2, 3 strategy into helping them?
Well, I'll quote Tony Robbins. It's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. Okay. I started my business, and I learned this actually when I was working with Tony and Chet. What most people don't realize is they had an entire company, an entire team, an entire sales force that was mostly not full-time. It was bolt-on, and it was straight commission on and rev share on revenue that's produced. So people who say, I can't do this, I say, you're right, you can't, but other people can. And let's ask why. And there's plenty. I have the client that I mentioned to you that does over before we went recording, my client that is growing over 25%. We train their entire 300-person sales force. They do over $2 billion in revenue. Those people are on 100% commission. You can find really good people today. Or if you don't want to go do it yourself, go find a company like yours that has a built-in salesperson team, a built-in call center. Go bolt it on like Voltron and put on the different pieces that you don't have to be able to help you. You don't have to do everything yourself. There's other companies out there. People come to us, they want leads. Well, we have a leads on demand program that puts, automate. Sounds like we do something similar but different based on what we talked about. So we have that lower end program called leads on demand. So it's just open your mind to the possibilities and bring in expertise where you don't have it. So that way you can do what you do best, whatever that is that you do best.
Right. I think that's an excellent answer. And when it comes to winning funnels, do you have in usually when you work and you help whatever type of business it is build those funnels, does the funnel really fundamentally change when you move from business to business? Let's say we're just in B2B, okay,
Yeah.
not B2C, in B2B. Does it really change when you build a funnel for a marketing business, for maybe a consultancy of other types, for an IT business, for an HVAC business, or does it have the same elements and just the narrative changed?
Uh, yes and yes. Let me ask you a question. Are you selling to a business? Or are you selling to a person?
That's a great question. You're obviously selling to a person.
Yeah. So people
Yeah.
are people. I mean, we do business to business funnels, high-end business to business funnels, and high ticket business to consumer funnels. They all start with the same narrative: understanding your audience. What's the pain, problem, or challenge that they're having and it's not being served? Where are they dissatisfied with where they're at now? Why are they dissatisfied? And how, if there's a book out there, Blue Ocean Strategy, that talks about, in order to grow a successful business, you don't need everyone. You need only the people that are dissatisfied with where they're at, that are looking for that new opportunity, that are looking for the solution. The question then becomes, how do you paint the picture of you being the solution to the problem that they have that they haven't seen anywhere else? They say, oh, I've tried that before. What do you do? And how do you position it that way?
Okay, that's perfect. And do you have any tips? So one of the things that I'm getting from what you just said is also, how do I differentiate myself in that narrative? And I think that's hard for a lot of agencies because, and I'm not judging, but a lot of people, for example, are offering SEO, and a lot of businesses hear that like it's a noise. You offer SEO, you offer SEO, so fine. So how would I know what's better? So you have case studies, you have case studies. How do I create myself? Do you have tips on how to create a differentiation in what seems sometimes to be a saturated market?
Great question. I mean, and we built a business originally. We started off in SEO before we got into marketing funnels and automation and all that. And I hear you. For us, I can only speak for us, and I'll give you an example. We talk to our clients about. For us, no matter if someone's coming with marketing funnel, it becomes a business conversation, and it really goes into the vision that they have, the core values that they have. How do they serve their clients? It's all about service, by the way, adding value and service. So if I understand that, it becomes a conversation. And when people speak to us, they're like, I've never had a conversation with an agency that's not sitting there trying to sell me. You're really trying to understand me and my business and where we're going and want to go. And so for us, it's, yeah, we happen to be an agency, but we're really a business building agency. So someone who's really looking to build, grow, and scale, and wants an award-winning team that's, done that multiple times, more than multiple times, we're a good fit. So with our clients that come to us, we have a whole month-long indoctrination and intake process where we get to really find out who they are and what they're about. And in order to differentiate yourself, I think it really goes back to asking some very powerful questions that your customers and your prospective customers would ask. And the best person to answer that is your sales team, or you, if you're your sales team. Think about every question that people ask you. What's every problem and objection that they bring up? What are all the reasons why they would choose not to work with you? What are the reasons why they would choose to work with you? And through really digging deep and thinking about that. Now, think about this in your videos, in your marketing, in your advertising. Answer all the objections that people bring up beforehand. That's a way to start separating yourselves, because talk about the things that most people are scared to talk about. You'll differentiate yourself.
I think that's an excellent point. And that's an excellent. I'm sorry, something popped up, and I that's why my eyes kind of glitter around on the screen. That's an excellent point. I think looking at yourself from a client perspective is something strong, and like you said, sometimes it's hard questions. I think I talk with a lot of agencies starting up, and you talk with a lot of entrepreneurs. I don't know if you hear it as well. I don't know if it's the imposter syndrome sometimes. I don't know if it's lack of confidence. I don't know if the fact that people don't usually try to dig down internally and ask themselves questions like that because they're too busy trying to make a living. But sometimes you find that you really need to dig deep into yourself to find some sort of core for a differentiation. And when you work with your clients, is there some sort of psychological steps that you take to try to kind of help them break free from maybe existing conceptions, or how, and sometimes very pig-headed because of doing that it worked to a degree.
Oh,
Are there? Yeah.
yeah, I have no problem just telling people, first of all, if I don't think that they're a good fit, we're not a good fit for everyone. In fact, we're not a good fit for most people. And being willing to look hard and deep. And yes, what you did produced results. The question is, do you want the results that you've had in the past, or do you want different results?
This podcast is brought to you by Umbrella. Have an agency? Check out umbrellaus.com to grow it today.
And, Einstein says the definition of insanity was doing the same thing over again, and expecting different results. And sometimes, throw out little cliches like that, but you have to get people in NLP, we call it an NLP pattern interrupt. We have to interrupt people out of the doldrums and the way that they've always been doing things if they want something different.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Another thing that I wanted to ask you is, you work with Chet Holmes. He
Yes.
built, 12 strategies in the book behind me. But one thing that is kind of an umbrella outlook at everything that he does is what he writes is pig-headed discipline and determination.
PhD, yes.
What's your take on that?
What Chet was saying is the only way that you fail is if you quit. And most people aren't willing to see it through to the end. If you know what you want, something with singularity, single vision, single focus, and you believe that you are the best at this and that you can serve people at a higher level, it is now incumbent upon you to do whatever it takes to make it successful, because you're serving people, you're changing people's lives, you're changing people's businesses. And if you believe that you can serve people, not, oh, I want to do a marketing business because I can make money doing it. No, if you believe that you're the best, you need to have that pig-headed discipline and determination to see it through. That's it.
That was wonderful. I'm motivated. I'm serious. I need that as well. So, okay, so I have that discipline. Let's say, I think I have that discipline. People don't really know until they go several years into it. But let's say you think.
No, you need to have that discipline. No think and up about it. You have to believe. You have to believe in yourself. So this imposter syndrome, everyone's faced it at some form or fashion. Why? Because you haven't achieved something. So here's what I tell people. Manufacture wins for yourself. Manufacture base hits. How? If you haven't done it before, go help someone, go serve someone. That's how I started. I did stuff for free. I went into debt building my business. I did stuff for free, hiring people, helping people. Why? Because I knew that if I worked with them, they'd get results. And then I had testimonials, I had track record, I had referrals. That's how my business started. I went into debt helping people for free. Not that I recommend that for everyone, but that's the path that I went, because I wasn't willing to sell something until I knew that I could actually, I believed I could deliver on it, until I knew for a fact that I was going to be able to get people's results, is when I was able to then, raise my prices from $80 an hour to $100 to $250 to $500 to now I charge $2,500 an hour for consulting.
That's the best. And that's one way of doing it. And it's a very good way, but it's also extremely hard, I think, for a lot of people. Are there any?
If you don't have revenue, get another job, do other things. I mean, side hustles, have 3 side hustles, work 20 hours a day, sleep 4 hours a day. Yeah. Do whatever it takes. Pig-headed discipline and determination doesn't stop because of the clock. You have to figure out a way. I mean, here's the thing. I had multiple revenue streams coming in, in order to create this business. It wasn't me just doing a marketing agency. I spoke on the side. I did consulting. Back then I was doing guided visualization and hypnosis sessions on people's mindset. I did whatever I needed to do to make it happen. Seriously, I did. That's how I wanted. I'm certified in hypnosis and NLP, and I was doing that for people. And then, yeah, I was probably one of the highest paid hourly rates. I was charging $500 an hour to do NLP and hypnosis sessions with people about 10 years ago.
It's probably, I now I have 5 more questions just on that. That's like the hypnosis part is, am I being hypnotized right now? What's going on?
Yes, you are.
Would you know? Would I know? I wouldn't know, right?
You wouldn't know, but here's the interesting thing. Everything that I did was to work on myself. It just so happened that the way to get better at something is to help other people. And I realized, well, when I was 16 years old, I was figuring out a way to get through my parents' divorce when I was 13, and it was pretty bad. And I was it was the only time I was really depressed in my life. And I went into a bookstore and I saw a cassette that was called Increasing Self-Confidence, and it was through hypnosis and guided visualization. So it was then in 3 weeks of listening to that multiple times a day, every day, that I started feeling differently about myself, and my confidence went up and my belief went up. So it really is from the time I was 16, I realized the power of our mind. And so I know it has nothing to do with marketing, but it does have everything to do with marketing, because if we can program our own mind to belief and success, that's all marketing and advertising is. It's a psychology of human behavior. Why do people buy the things that they buy? Why do people take the actions that they take? And when we understand that, we can do influence. Now, influence is very different than coercion. Coercion is, I'm going to do something, you're going to do it. If you don't like it, these are the consequences. Influence in business and marketing is, I'm going to show you a pathway. You're going to say yes to that pathway. I may have guided you and influenced you into seeing why that was the right pathway. And then after you choose that pathway, you thank me for the decision, because you know beyond a shadow of a doubt it was the right thing for you.
Very true. And I'm going back to the structure. So I understand the pig-headed 100%. You do everything that you need to do. You gave excellent examples about your past, but I think a lot of things that people are missing is, okay, I'm ready to be pig-headed, but I don't have, yeah, I know it sounds funny, but I don't have the pattern to believe in. Like if I had, a divine entity coming out of the sky and telling me, you need to do these 5 things, Itamar, and then you'll succeed. So I'll be pig-headed about that. But
your self-talk, work on it. Every night before I go to bed, I have this little thing that I say. Here's why. The thing that you think about before you go to bed, your mind processes unconsciously 7 times more than anything else. So, I'll say to myself, your own self-talk. I'm an amazing human being. I am worthy of all the great things life has to offer. I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of happiness. I'm worthy of success. I'm worthy of abundance. I'm worthy of wealth. And, thank God, for the gifts and the opportunities that we have. And so your self-talk begins with your belief system. Your belief system then turns into your pig-headed discipline. Determination is guided by you believing you're worth it. One of the reasons why so many people don't do something is their own self-worth issues that they have.
Yeah.
It all begins in mindset. You want to talk about building a business? It begins right here. It doesn't begin with a concept, doesn't begin with a marketing plan. It doesn't begin with a product, doesn't begin with a service. It begins with the space between the fingers right here, that little brain thing. The more you work on that, the more success you're going to have.
Yeah, 100%.
And yes, I talk a lot in the mindset stuff, but I grew up with this. I grew up listening to Tony Robbins. I grew up learning these things. And the more that you work on yourself, the more success you're going to have.
So let's take it from the mindset into practice. I'm going back to patterns because I think it's easier for people to digest, okay, my first and second step should be what? Let's say I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm a 6-figure agency, not a 7-figure agency.
Sure.
Just going to say, let's say I'm doing $300,000 a year in revenue. top line revenue, not profit home. That's the agency. That's what it does. I'm doing some SEO. I'm doing some Facebook advertising. Maybe I'm building some website. Maybe I'm outsourcing a little bit. Maybe I'm doing some things myself. I have me as the salesperson. I have a couple of VAs. I have maybe somebody that helps me a little bit with the content marketing for myself, for my website, and for my stuff. That's the team.
Sure.
Now I want to go and I provide good service. Like my clients like me. I'm not talking about people who provide bad service. That's an issue in and of itself. But I'm good. Like people like me, they stick with me. I'm stuck. What do you think? I'm giving you kind of common denominator to a lot of things that I hear. What do you think is my first step practically from this point? What do I do?
Well, well, let me ask you a question. What are you stuck on? Where's the stuck?
I feel that I don't know how to grow from here. Like if I hire a salesperson, I'm a marketer, so I know marketing is holistic. So if I hire a salesperson, then I don't have the funnel to get him the leads. So if I do leads,
you don't need any of that. So you don't need it. You don't need a funnel. You need old fashioned. You know how you build a business in the beginning? You roll up your sleeves and you go knock on doors. You call people. You do whatever it takes. So first of all, if you have a $300,000 a year business and you're not making 100,000, we have another conversation to talk about your overhead and your expenses, but that's a whole nother conversation. What I wrote a chapter in a book I was interviewed for called 30 Days. And Russell Brunson, it's actually, I utilize that as the inspiration for my TED Talk. And my TED Talk opens, I had 30 days until I lost everything, my house, my family, my cars, everything. And I tell the story and the journey there in regard to that, but I was invited to be in a book. And it was interesting because it was a decade earlier that I actually experienced that myself. And I said, and the book was like, what advice would you give people? So it's the exact advice you're asking me for right now. And day one would be, I want you to block out 8 hours. Go to a river, go to a stream, go to a lake. Water has this purification, cleansing type of effect. And just think, if you could do anything in the world right now, what would it be? If you could serve anyone in any way, how would you serve them? And then get clarity on that. And then go find a client. So in the book, when I wrote about it, I said, okay, I'm going to pretend that I don't have any revenue. And if I can't build a 6-figure business in the next 30 days, my business closes. Seriously. I said, so I won't pay any bills except for what I can generate off of this new concept. So I put it to the test. I said, okay, who do I want to serve? And I said at the time I was going to serve doctors. So I was going to go talk to doctors. So I made an appointment at a doctor. And so I paid for an appointment at the doctor. And while we're sitting there and he's talking to me about what he is, I started asking questions about his practice and his business and the challenges and problems that he has. And he said, what do you do? And I said, I help doctors grow their revenue and profits through marketing and marketing automation. He said, no way, I'm so glad you came in today. So my goal was to build $8,000 to $10,000 in revenue in the next 30 days. So I didn't close my business. And then I documented in that chapter of the book, 30 Days, every step that I took and how I did it. And I did. I built it again. I didn't know this person ahead of time. I didn't know the next person ahead of time. I was willing to step in and just have conversations with people. So if you're looking to build your business and I don't have the money for marketing, I don't have all these things, stop looking at what you don't have and start looking at what you do have. You have your mind, you have your belief, you have your heart to serve, and go out and have conversations with people. That's it. Right. That's my advice.
It's an excellent advice. Excellent advice. I think that creating a relationship, like you said, is probably the first path to success. But your doctor appointment example was excellent. I loved it.
It's kind of funny that I did that, but I said, well, I have 30 days. I sat down at the Chattahoochee River. So you've been to Atlanta, sat down at the Chattahoochee River and, let something come to my mind. And that's what came. This is what we're going to do. This is the niche I'm going to go after. And this is how we're going to do it. And it worked. And if it didn't work, I would have found something else. It worked though.
That's amazing. So, you help so many business owners, so many years, and helping business owners, you ask a lot of questions, but you also give a lot of advice. Do you remember one advice or one question in the beginning that really, really had an impact on you?
Yes. I remember it like it was yesterday. I had just graduated college. So it was a long time ago. It was 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago. And I happened to be up with my dad, and we were driving up to visit my uncle. And my uncle had a boat on the Long Island Sound, a big sailboat. And so we were going sailing. And I asked my dad a question. So Dad, I just got a job in sales, and can you give me some advice? And here's what my dad said. He said, ask your Uncle Alan. And I said, why? He said, because he dropped out of college and he makes more than anyone that I know, and he's in sales. So I sat down, we were getting ready to go on the boat, and I said, hey, Uncle Alan, can you give me one piece of advice that would make me be able to be the best in sales? And here's what he said. Most people, and this goes for agencies, by the way, as well. Think about this. Most people, when they talk to someone, what do? They sit there and they put the proposal together and they spend a few hours doing that. And then they do emails and this and that and the other thing. What my uncle said to me was, if you want to be the best and you want to be the #1 salesperson in your company and make more money, because back then it was like, how do I make money? And here's what he said. You only have so many hours in the day that you can actually talk to people. Use those hours to talk to people. Get up early in the morning, stay up late at night. All your proposals, all your emails should be before 8 a.m. or after 6 p.m. So I used to be up and doing proposals and presentations and doing all that. I'd be up to 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Seriously, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, doing all the paperwork. And between the time I could talk to people, I was out visiting people in person. I was on the telephone. I was doing whatever I needed to do. That was the best advice I could have ever gotten. That's it. Just work your ass off.
That's smart. The work your ass off, but also the exact time allocation, because he says, look, you need to talk with a lot of people. Make sure the time that you can talk with people is when you talk with people. It's
but
also
most people aren't willing to put in 12 to 14-hour days. That's just a fact, and that's what it takes.
I agree. So so the last piece that we have in this interview is, in this podcast today, is we have a rapid Q&A that I do with everybody that I interview, and it's the same questions, because I'm looking to see if there is some sort of pattern on some of these questions after I interview a lot of people, and they're not, very edgy questions, but if you feel uncomfortable with any of them, just say pass. Okay?
Yes, yes, no, yes, yes, yes. How's that?
Let's see. Yes, 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 yes. No, you don't have a pet?
No, I have 3 cats.
So wrong answer. So
Okay.
let's start from the beginning. Did you get along with your parents growing up?
Yeah, I did, until the divorce, and then I didn't.
Do you have siblings?
2.
You have a pet. You said 3 cats, right?
Cats, yes.
How old were you when your first kid was born?
I was 28.
When do you wake up?
6:45.
When do you go to bed?
About 11:30.
Ideal vacation?
Beach.
Are you a man of faith?
Yes.
That's amazing. So excellent. David, this was inspiring.
Did I pass the question test?
I wish, I should start doing this. I actually should have a mark at the end if you pass or not. I gotta say to people, I'm sorry, man. We can't stop you. You didn't pass. Let's go at it again. No, but the answers, I get all the answers. we transcript them, then I put everything in the table. And I do see one common denominator already, although I don't have a big poll, is beside one, everybody that I interviewed told me they are people of faith. And I'm starting to think that marketers have a higher emotional intelligence, and that's why they're also, or entrepreneurs, because they're very positive, also attract to faith. I'm not sure about it, but maybe I'll add that to one of the questions. But that's something that is kind of like 99% the same. But it was not just inspiring, it was very helpful. You provide a lot of information that was very tactical, and I really appreciate it because I know it's hard. Guys, go to nitrogen.com. Everybody who's listening.
Business Nitrogen.
It's Business Nitrogen, businessnitrogen.com. It's David's website. It's packed with excellent information that can help you start, much more than this podcast, move on and learn more stuff about how to monetize your business and grow it. It's businessnitrogen.com. David, you've been amazing. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where we provide the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. Your host has been Itamar Shafir, founder and CEO of Umbrella, the technology platform and brand that is powering thousands of marketing agencies around the country. Find him at umbrellaus.com.